Hi there, this is Katie Groves, and in this video I'm going to be talking more about things that the sibling I spoke of in part 1 did to help me break free and generally stay free from the programming as a child. One of the main things that they did that I don't think I touched on in part 1 was they encouraged me to engage with them in something called echolalia. Echolalia takes many forms and is largely associated with psychosis, I believe, but it's not exclusive to people with psychotic disorders. And in fact, a group of people that is known to engage in echolalia is autistic people. And it has recently come to my attention that both me and the sibling of mine are autistic. And so it makes a lot of sense that we would gravitate towards this. So essentially what we did was we spoke in a lot of made up, kind of nonsensical words that absolutely meant something to us, but wouldn't have meant much to most other people. And we used them to both communicate things that we did not have regular words for, and also we used them to communicate things that it would not be safe for our abusers to hear. And I think that part of why this was so powerful was it gave me a line of communication with someone that was pretty free, pretty disconnected from the programming. And our abusers were not able to understand it or understand its power. I think from their perspective, we were just two autistic kids babbling to each other. And it's not that we came off as totally incoherent, it's just that we used words that they just didn't altogether understand. And I just think that our abusers greatly underestimated this, and this was something that profoundly helped me to get free. A lot of the words that we used were designed to communicate inner experiences from toddlerhood, and even, I think, from infancy. And because this sibling of mine, I believe, pretended to be interested in engaging in incestuous infantilism with me, they were able to get away with using a lot of this way of speaking with me. And I'm sorry to use a trigger phrase here, but I think that our abusers thought that they were just engaging in baby talk to try and access and manipulate small child parts of me. And so they allowed them to have this really direct line of communication to me on a heart level that they just did not understand. I'm not going to go into what any of the words were. I know that I still do not remember most of them, but I am aware of some. And maybe at a later date I'll be able to go into it, but probably not for a long time, if ever. But I will talk about one specific thing. This is not a made-up word, although we did have made-up words that went along with it. But one big thing for us was tardigrades. And it's only recently hit me just how deep some of the symbolism around this went, and just how helpful it was for me in getting free. When the sibling and me got together on a more front personality level when I was 15 and they were 23, very quickly they started trying to get me to identify with the little microscopic animal called the tardigrade. It's also known as the water bear or the moss piglet. A lot of people think they're very ugly. I think they're absolutely adorable. They have caterpillar-like features, but they're not caterpillars. And when conditions get too difficult, they curl up into a little ball and do something called tunning. And in that state, they are in many ways virtually indestructible. They are considered extremophiles because they're capable of withstanding extreme temperatures, I believe, of both hot and cold. And they are the only known animal, as far as I know, to have survived the vacuum of space. A while ago, they were sent out into space, apparently, and went into this tun state, survived being in the vacuum of space, And then when returned to a more suitable environment, they essentially came back to life out of the ton state and were reproducing and just apparently functioning normally. This is what I have heard from some of my studies and from the sibling of mine. And so the symbolism of the tardigrade is very profound in general. I think they're one of the coolest animals, but the symbolism is specifically helpful in breaking monarch slaves free. At least it was for me. I'm going to go into some of the symbolism of the caterpillar to butterfly transformation in Monarch. So for survivors who are too triggered by that, you may want to skip this part. I'm going to put timestamps in the description for when I start and end here talking about this so that you can more easily skip it if you want to. But those who want to hear about it, you may be interested to know that in Monarch Mind Control, the word monarch is very significant. Children are repeatedly told there that they are caterpillars or worms, and that they are bad in that state, that their original form is shameful, horrible, evil, whatever terrible words the programmers choose to ascribe to it, and to the child's sense of self. And then the children are made to believe that if they go through the programming, they will be transformed into beautiful butterflies. And there's a bunch of reasons why the butterfly is used in that way. Some basic things are that butterflies fly, which is conducive with dissociation. Butterflies often fly in a seemingly disorganized and easily manipulated pattern. Butterflies are seen as pure and innocent, as beautiful, as incapable of being immoral or of doing any harm to others. That's just things that I think people generally associate with butterflies. And I think that for this reason, a butterfly is just a perfect symbol for mind control. And so when my sibling was trying to break me free, they wanted me to change my association from being a caterpillar transformed into a butterfly when horrible trauma happened, to being a tardigrade that would simply curl up into a ball and tough it out until it was safe to come back out again. And I really feel that that is largely what I did in Monarch from the beginning. Instead of being transformed into a programmed butterfly, I feel like I rather just curled up in a ball inside and preserved my true self, waiting for when it could come back out again. When I was 18, I had a huge experience where my true self came forward. And I think I talked about that in a recent video a little bit. Sorry, my leg twitched. And it made my hand twitch the camera. But yeah, I had this experience at 18 that was very transformative, where my core self came out, and I realized that it had never actually been programmed. It doesn't mean that I as a whole have not been programmed, but for my core personality to have truly not been touched like that, I think that's pretty rare for children. And I think that the sibling of mine really recognized that the tardigrade was a perfect symbol for what I had done, that the butterfly didn't fit as much. And so I think they really used this to try to get me to shift my sense of self from being a butterfly to being a tardigrade, as the tardigrade is a lot truer to who I am.